Hello everyone, thank you so much for joining me here today. If you're new, I'm Amanda. Welcome to the channel where we are all about shattering the mental health stigma. If you haven't already, please make sure you make sweet, sweet love to that subscribe button, give the bell a few kisses so you're not missing any of this content designed to help you with your mental health or help you help someone else. Today I'm going to be doing a Q&A video to address some of the common questions that people have here in the comments. I feel like if I'm getting the same question a lot, that means I'm probably not doing a very good job at explaining things, and I want the purpose of this channel and why I do things a certain way to be evident. So we're going to do a Q&A today just to go over some of those things. If you still have questions, you can always leave those in the comments, but these are the ones that I get the most. Just FYI, if I sound a little weird, I've been very sick for the past few days, so my voice might sound a little funny. That's also why my calendar is still blank, because I just haven't got around to filling it out for March yet. But I promise I haven't fallen off the face of the planet or just given up on everything. I'm still here, I'm good, I'm healing. I just like to take my time in doing that and not overexert myself. This is something I've been meaning to do for a while, so let's dive in. The question I get asked the most is, why do you put suicide survivor in your title for your reactions? And the more abrasive comments of that type go on to accuse me of profiting off of other people's suffering. So this is the first one I want to address because I think we can talk about the purpose of the channel and answer that question. First and foremost, most of my reactions are not monetized due to copyright, so I'm not profiting off of anything. I do this to raise awareness. And in my streams where we ask for pledges and stuff, where we do get donations, my Patreon, all of that goes toward my mental health outreach. So I'm not taking any of that for myself. I'm using all of that to further my outreach and help more people. So I'm actually not pocketing anything off of this channel. Now, why I do that, why I put suicide survivor in my reaction titles, is because I want people to know right off the bat the perspective that I'm coming from. I'm not a vocal coach, I'm not a composer, I don't have any sort of professional insights to give. I'm reacting from a perspective of someone who lives with anxiety symptoms, who has been through really dark times in her life and has come out on the other side, who has survived clinical depression, who survived addiction, who survived these things and has come out on the other side. I want you to know that that's where I'm reacting from right off the bat. So that way you know what you're getting into. Number one, if we're going to talk about anything, we often do talk about topics that can be a little triggery. You know right off the bat that this is going to be a conversation about mental health. And I say that right in the beginning of each video, that that's the purpose of this channel, is to shatter the mental health stigma. So by being able to, right off the bat, right when you see the video, show you what it's about, it makes it a little bit easier for people to get into that mindset, right? So they know what they're getting into. It's almost like a trigger warning of sorts as to what they're getting into. While this has upset some people here on the channel, it has helped a lot of people, because while they're listening to this song that sometimes can have some really dark undertones, some of these songs can have really dark undertones, and these are things that people have struggled with for a very long time. Now they can see, hey, this person was where I'm at and they came out on the other side. They're listening to this song, they're talking about how they feel and how it affects them, and oftentimes it's affecting other people in a very similar way. So now there's that validation, there's that connection, there's that reminder that you're not alone because you're struggling with something in your journey. There are people that overcome and that can empathize without sympathizing, if that makes sense. I hope that you guys understand the difference between empathizing and sympathizing, but I can empathize without that pity, I suppose is the best way to put it, because I've been there and I understand and I know that there's another side to it. And by using the term survivor and not victim of depression or something, it's showing that there's strength to be found in this and there is another side to it. Something else I get asked a lot is, how have you not heard XYZ song? Because it was a very popular song, or a song that most people had heard of at some point. And it's just unfathomable that I haven't heard a song that was really popular or a song that most people have heard, like Fade to Black by Metallica. And there's several reasons for that. Number one, my parents were into a genre of music that most people were. They were very into old school country. They were very into 60s music, oldies music, stuff like that. They never got into rock. And my friends and I, by the time I started listening to music with friends, I was 13 years old jamming to NSYNC and Backstreet Boys and Britney Spears. And then I immediately transitioned into Linkin Park, and I kind of got stuck in Linkin Park and Simple Plan. And I didn't really deviate from that. I really kind of got stuck on my music and my comfort, and I just wasn't a music junkie. I just didn't seek out new music. Now, I might have heard a song on the radio at some point, and I just didn't commit that to memory. So there might be a song somewhere that I've done a reaction to that isn't technically my first time hearing it, because I heard it at a grocery store somewhere one time, but I have no memory of that. So I feel like it's still a valid first time reaction. But I have noticed that this channel tends to be kind of reaction analysis hybrid. So we don't just sit here and say, ooh, cool, oh my gosh. We talk about the music and we break down the lyrics. The focus here is more on the lyrics as opposed to the talent, or as opposed to how they can possibly do that. And of course, sometimes I do get very Twitter-pated with the talent of a musician or of a person, but for the most part, I focus on the lyrics, and that's how I've always listened to music. Now, don't get me wrong, I always recognize that Chester Bennington's voice was phenomenal. I always recognize talent, but it's the lyrics that really draw me in. So I'm doing this from a whole different perspective. But with the How on Earth Have You Not Heard the Song, I just wasn't exposed to a lot of music growing up. I just didn't have people suggesting songs for me and stuff. That wasn't something that was as prevalent in the 90s as it is now. And that kind of ties into the next part of, why do you need to talk so much? Just do a reaction. That's not what this channel is about. This channel isn't about just oohing and eyeing and facial expressions, although I've been told that I'm quite animated. This channel is about shattering the mental health stigma, and I'm using music to do that. I'm using music to start conversation. So I'm breaking down the lyrics and talking about how they relate to me and how they relate to my journey, because come to find out, they relate to a lot of other people in a similar way. So if that's the kind of thing you're looking for, I completely respect that. And there's a lot of channels that you can find that do that. And I hope you find one that resonates with you. But that's not what we're about here, and that's not what we're going to do here. I'm going to continue breaking down songs and talking about the lyrics. Now, some people ask, why don't you just wait till the end to do that? Well, because my memory is not that good. Because when I hear things, there's so much in a song to unpack. And when I hear certain parts of the song, no, I'm not going to pause immediately, but I can only commit so much to memory as far as what that lyric said, or what is coming up for me at that time, kind of the story I want to tell or what I want to focus on. I cannot memorize 4 minutes or so of lyrics and then go back and discuss them all. So I take pauses to be able to do so efficiently and to be able to do so in a deeper way. So I'm not just giving kind of an overall of the song, but I'm able to specifically pick out lyrics that stood out to me and that I found meaningful. A comment that I get fairly frequently, or a variation of this comment, that really breaks my heart is, I know you're trying to help and encourage people, but I'm a lost cause. Can't you see that I'm a lost cause? I know that you see that. I know that you see it that way, because that's the way your shadow wants you to see it. But I have never met a person that I believe to be a lost cause. I see people that have fallen pretty far down. I fell pretty far down. I've seen people who are going through so much trying to navigate trauma, trying to navigate loss, grief, trying to navigate intense depression symptoms, trying to navigate panic attacks, trying to navigate abuse, whatever the case is. And some of these people are older. And I've seen so many people, regardless of what they've been through, regardless of their age, regardless of where they are, regardless of how much support they have. I've seen people pull through the darkest of things. And I've seen this here on the channel. I've seen this in friends. I've seen this in myself. I've seen this through books I've read, Holocaust survivor stories, things like that. I've seen people come out of the worst of circumstances and still find a way to thrive and find happiness. So no, I don't believe you're a lost cause. I don't believe anyone's a lost cause. I believe that sometimes we lose our way, but I don't think that we can't find the path again. I think that it takes energy and it takes a lot of adaptation and it takes learning different skills, but I don't think anyone is a lost cause. I will never believe that. And I often say every superhero has a tragic backstory. And the thing that makes them a superhero is the fact that they use that tragic backstory to fly, to better themselves, to help other people. So they're using that for the greater good, as opposed to saying all these big bad things happened to me, all these big terrible things happened to me, and it's just too much for me to overcome, so they lay down and quit. And that's when you fail, is when you quit. You will succeed when you try again, or you try something new, or you try a different way, or you try asking for help. There's always a different way to try. I felt like I'd tried everything in the world to get to a place where I could genuinely be happy, but I hadn't. And I hadn't tried the right combination of things. But once I found the right combination of things and I figured out what to weed out and what to add, then I started moving forward. But that wasn't an overnight process. It was a process. And it was difficult, and it was time consuming, and it was messy, but it was worth it. Now, when we're talking about grief, or we're talking about a traumatic event, it's very common for us to want to go back to the before time. Nobody goes back to the before time. Nobody finds happiness because they got to go back to the before time. It's not possible. Unfortunately, I can't go back and be with my parents. That's not possible. But I can go anywhere else. And some of those places have ways that I can honor my parents and ways that I can connect with my parents. So you can't go back, but you can go anywhere else, anywhere else. And some of those places do hold joy and do hold happiness and do hold fulfillment. But you can't continuously be stuck on wanting to go back because it's not going to happen. It's never going to happen. But you can go anywhere else and you can find fulfillment and joy in other places. And the last thing I want to address is a concern that I hear a lot. Worried people in the comments section, I love you so much, by the way, for worrying about me, that are saying, if you're depressed, why are you listening to sad or dark songs? Why are you listening to these things that are going to make you cry? And I don't see crying as a weakness. Crying is a release for me. So many times when I listen to these songs, it's helping me release something that was stuck. It's helping me move past something. So instead of repressing it, I'm able to move past it. So it's actually very, very healing for me. But I want to address the misconception here that I'm depressed. First and foremost, I was never depressed. You are not depressed. You are having depression symptoms. I had depression symptoms. When you own that disorder as you, as yourself, as your identity, it makes it much, much more difficult to overcome. So instead of saying, I'm depressed or I have depression, no, you're having depression symptoms. Those can be overcome and those can be mitigated and managed. But never say the words, I have depression, because it's affirming that as a fact, and a fact can't be changed. Also, I'm in the happiest, healthiest place I've ever been in my life. I am really quite blissful, and I still have hard days, and I still have anxiety symptoms, and I'm still more emotionally susceptible than most people, but I'm in a really good place. I wouldn't be doing this if I wasn't. And if I needed to take a break from the channel, I know that I have that option. I know I could do that, and I know you guys will have my back at the end of the day, but right now, I'm good. I can do it. I can handle it. I'm in a really good headspace, and I'm in a really good place in my life. But even if I am having a hard day and I'm struggling and my anxiety symptoms are higher, or I'm just really going through a lot of heavy stuff, like I lost someone recently, went through a divorce a couple years ago, and I was still here active on the channel, but it can make me a little more susceptible to things. But even during that time, listening to this music often would help me feel validated, would help me feel more connected to people who are just like me, who are feeling like me, who are thinking like me, who are struggling like me in that moment. So it, again, comforts me and makes me feel like I'm not alone, which is really important when you're in that darkness. Now, I have learned to be, well, I've always been very self-aware. And I think it's important to know the difference between when you're in that really dark place and you're listening to music that's making you feel worse. So if you're listening to a dark or sad song and it's making you feel worse, then that is not conducive, obviously. But if you're listening to a sad or dark song and it's helping you process feelings, it might not feel good at first, but it's not making you feel suicidal, it's not bringing up ideation like that, it's not making you feel like the world's out to get you and you're all alone and everything's awful, because I know what that feels like too. It's not making you feel like that. It's just allowing you to go through the emotion instead of trying to repress it. That's totally okay. If you're going through that emotion, that's okay. If you're listening to the song and it's making you feel worse, then change the song. I mean, there's acknowledging an emotion, sitting through it, and then there's wallowing in it. And I think I'll actually make a video about that, because I think it's a very important distinction, that you can feel a feeling, you can sit with that feeling. It can be an uncomfortable feeling and it can hurt, but it's not leading you toward destructive thoughts. That's the important thing. It's not leading you toward destructive thoughts. It's not dragging you further down. It's not feeding your shadow. It might make you angry. It might make you sad. It's okay. There is something to be said about finding ways to cope with these emotions, and sometimes songs can do that. I'm always very cognizant about when I sit down to do a reaction to make sure, okay, I have no idea what I'm getting myself into. This could be really dark, it could be really graphic, it could be very upsetting, it could kick up some emotions, it could talk about things that I find really triggery. I don't know when I sit down, so I always make sure that when I'm sitting down to do a reaction that I'm in a good headspace. I might, like I said, be a little bit emotional, but I'm in a good headspace that I can handle what is coming at me. So as much as I love you guys for your concern, I am very careful about the mindset I have when I sit down to film, and I'm very careful about taking care of myself. And oftentimes when I'm done filming, if it was something particularly upsetting, there was a Disturbed reaction that I did a while ago that was just really, really jarring for me, then I will go and I'll take some time to meditate. I'll go on a walk, I'll go rollerblading, I'll have a piece of dark chocolate, just something to kind of ground myself again. I take time to ground myself again. I get off the screen and take time to ground myself and bring myself back to that stasis. So I'm very, very careful about how I do things here. Actually, I said that was the last one, but I did think of one other thing that I kind of get accused of a lot, and that's that I've already listened to it, that I'm scripting videos. First and foremost, I don't have time for that. I don't have time to come up with some elaborate thing beforehand, but people say, oh, because you don't look directly at the camera. So if you just want me to do all reactions like this the whole time and talk like this, I suppose I can, although that's really creepy. I suppose I could do that, but it's actually an anxiety symptom and a sign of thinking. It's the way I think. So when I think about something, I kind of do this number and I look around. It's just a trait. It's not me sitting here reading a script. It's just a trait that I have that allows me to, I suppose, again, process the thoughts that I have. Because if I'm staring at the camera, then I'm not really able to think as clearly as if I'm just kind of looking around sometimes. So if that's distracting, I do apologize, but it is part of my process and part of the way I do things. If I wanted to script things and just do this as a complete analysis, I could do that and it wouldn't make a lick of difference. People would still watch the videos. So why on earth would I lie about that? I feel like that's kind of silly to assume that I would lie about that, but it is something I've been accused of many times. That covers the most common questions here on the channel. If you have more questions, please feel free to drop them here in the comments. I'm very active in my comment section. It might take me a few days because I only check my comments a couple times a week. That's one of my ways that I protect my mental health, is not being on screens a lot, because I very much see how damaging that is to my well-being. So come on, I check my comments and stuff a couple times a week, read my emails every couple days. So please feel free to ask anything you want here in the comments related to the channel. And also, as always, share your stories, good, bad, and crazy. No matter where you are in your mental health journey, we will hold space for you. And that's how we shatter the mental health stigma, is by talking about it. So your story is part of this movement. Sharing here in the comments is part of this movement. And I just want every person to know they have this safe place to come, that they can come here and just talk and open up and get it all out, because sometimes just having it stuck in your head is the worst. So you can come here and you can get it all out. And it's very important for me that people know that they're seen and that they're valued and that you are worthy. No matter what your shadow might be telling you, no matter what people in your life might have told you, you are worthy and you are lovable, and I love you, and we are here for you. So you're never ever going to be alone again now that you've fallen here into our community on this channel. I love you guys so much. Like I said, make sure to make sweet, sweet love to that subscribe button. Give this video a thumbs up. I love you so much. I'll see you soon. Mwah.